All right, guys. This weekend is supposed to be kind of crappy. We're actually supposed to get snow tomorrow, and mind you, this is the 8th of May.
Guaranteed to get what you need, and that's what you want. What you want. Sometimes I am like a wave on the sea.
Not a bad little guy.
That's when I feel like I'm totally free.
So I really wasn't sure what I was going to do this weekend because I really can't take the kayaks out. It's supposed to be horrendously windy, and like I said, we're supposed to get snow tomorrow. So I wasn't quite sure what to do, and then a guy named Milton Hastings saved the day. He emailed me asking my opinion and some help on which kayak to buy for him. He's contemplating a Pro Angler 12 and a Outback, and asked me if my opinion, and said it would be great if I did a video on it. So here we are. Ultimately, it would have been great if I could have gone down to Three Bells and used the showroom, because all the kayaks that I'm going to talk about are there on display. Unfortunately, with the whole Corona thing, they are still pretty much shut down. They are appointment only, and then they're backlogged on a lot of shipment stuff, so I didn't even bother asking. But I do have my Revo, and I do have my PA 14 360 on the trailer here, so visual aid. So now, he's, like I said, he's contemplating a PA and an Outback, and they are great, both great boats, but they are both completely different. I suppose the biggest, I'm gonna sound like everybody else, but the biggest deciding factors are going to be, one, budget, two, where you're fishing and what type of fishing, and also you. If you are 6'10" and a bigger guy, you're probably not going to want a Revo 13 or a Revo 16. If you are 4'5", you probably don't need a Pro Angler 14. You might be comfortable in it, but you don't need it. So that has a lot to do with it as well. A buddy of mine has a PA 14, and he loves it, but he also has a 19 Outback, and he says he feels very cramped in it. He likes it because of the weight. He loves the weight of the Outback compared to the Pro Angler 14, but he feels cramped. Now, in comparison, his son, he's a bigger guy too. According to him, he outweighs the capacity of the Outback seat. But anyway, in comparison, his son might weigh 90 pounds soaking wet, and says he feels cramped in the Outback because he has a PA 14 as well. So he's used to the room, he's used to the comfort, so when he gets in the Outback, he does feel cramped. And he's a skinny kid. So it all depends on it all depends on you, I guess. Now, Milton said he has never fished in a kayak, so he's going into this blind and unbiased, which is good. So budget is probably the biggest thing you really need to sit down and figure out first. How much you want to spend on a kayak, because that's going to knock off a bunch, or give you a bunch, however you look at it, right from the start. Your size is another, like I said before. Where you fish is another one. Now, he's saying he doesn't say what type of guy he is. He doesn't say how big he is. He didn't get into that. But he did say rivers and bays. So he's going to be fishing salt, it sounds like, salt and fresh. So you know he's got the right. He's looking at the right kayaks. Both of them. Realistically, any kayak will work anywhere to some extent. But the PA-12 and the Outback, both will serve him well, and anybody else considering those kayaks, it will serve very well. My opinion, well, before I get into all that, Milton, the PA-12 is 12 feet long, exactly, 36 inches wide. The capacity of the kayak is 500 pounds. The seat capacity is 350. Fitted weight, which I believe is just the kayak out of the box, is 105 pounds. Now you add the drive, the seat, and the accessories that come with the kayak, it is 128. That's not including your gear, your fish finder, your battery, your crate full of tackle, and all that. That does not that's not including that. It's just what comes out of the box, all the accessories that comes with the kayak. Is 105 pounds. I'm sorry, 128 pounds. It's a heavy boat. If you're fishing alone, at the end, you got to drag that out of a ramp. You got to put those wheels underneath it. So that is something to consider as well. If you are a smaller person like myself, it's a struggle. My biggest fear with this 14 360 is slippery boat ramps. In the middle of the summer, I wear flip-flops. How am I going to pull this big boat? I mean, this thing weighs more than the PA-12. How am I going to get that up a slippery boat ramp? We'll see how this goes. I might fall on my face. I don't know. But so that is something you might want to take into consideration. Now, the Outback is 12 feet 9 inches. So it's almost actually 13 feet. If you're not familiar, the longer, the better tracking. The shorter, the worse tracking. The more maneuverable for shorter, but it tracks horribly. So that is almost 13. It is 34 inches wide. So it's pretty wide. It's got a 425 capacity, and the seat is 275 pounds. So it's pretty decent. Fitted weight is 85, rigged is 103. So it's still a heavy kayak too, but it's not as bad as the PA. So that is something to consider. The differences between those two boats for mounting purposes, almost identical. You know, they both have the H rails. The Outback, actually, with the dual track system, front and then the track system in the rear, gives you a little bit more. But I mean, the PA has the rails, both sides. Plus, they now have the rails in the front. I mean, it's kind of unlimited with both boats. So for rigging purposes, about the same. The PA comes with the brass inserts for the anchor trolley, so that makes it a lot easier. But, I mean, they're both pretty much the same on that aspect. They both have the Guardian system, which protects that transducer. You can raise and lower it. And side note, I just saw a company out of Texas is making basically a little Bixby motor, or very close to a Bixby motor, that actually fits in that Guardian. So you can actually attach it to the Guardian, pull it up into the hull to protect it, drop it down, and now you have a little motor. As long as you don't want a fish finder, that's fine. But anyway, so I mean, both boats, rigging purposes, you're kind of unlimited. The older Outback, not so much. The Revo, not really at all. But it all depends on the type of fishing you do. If you're a run and gun kind of guy, Outback to Revo is probably what you want to look for. If you're a all day on the water and jigging and, you know, want comfort and you don't care about speed, yeah, Outback versus Outback in PA. As you go through, as you get more familiar with the kayak fishing and all of that, with Hobie anyway, you will notice that the Outback kind of fits everything. And it has been said that the Outback is the Swiss Army knife of Hobie. And that is very, very true. Kind of. I'm going to put an asterisk on that. It is. But in my opinion, there is another kayak that is just as versatile in doing anything. That is the Rev 13 with the Armor Kit. I get laughed at with the Armor Kit. You know, they're all buddies of mine, and they like teasing me about my training wheels and all of that. But I gotta say, that Armor Kit has saved me from some early days when the winds kick up and boat traffic kicks up, and you got swells, you know, and you know, where other guys are turning in and going back in. I throw those on and I'm still fishing. Laugh at me all you want. I'm still fishing. So I think the Revo 13 is actually the Swiss Army knife of the Hobie lineup. But that's just my humble opinion. So just to give a little bit of comparison here with the Revo. Now this is a 2018 Revo, but I got the specs for the 2020. It is 13 and a half inches long. It's 28 and a half wide, so it is a lot skinnier. 350 capacity. The seat is 275. It's the same seat as the Outback. Fitted weight is 70 pounds. Rigged weight is only 88 pounds. So it's pretty light, which is why I love it. I throw it on the top of my Jeep. It's great. If you are a bigger guy, and I shouldn't even say that because I know a couple bigger guys that are bigger than me that fish out of a Rev 13. And maybe even a Rev, actually I think a couple of them fish out of 16s. 16s are actually an inch narrower than this 13. I have not tried a 16 yet. I'm hoping to this year, but we'll see. But if you are a person who is a little bit larger and is a little uneasy with tippiness, Rev 13 or a Rev 16 or even a Rev 11 is probably not the boat for you. And I would suggest the Outback if you want speed. If you want just all-day comfort, then yeah, the PA. So those are those three boats. Now I'm going to throw in a couple more just for comparison. The Compass. It is virtually an Outback stripped down. No frills. It doesn't have the hatch in the front like most of them do. It's got like this bungee space. It's a little bit different than the Outback, but almost the same thing. It's got a little cheaper seat. I believe it only comes. I believe it only has a GT drive, but I could be wrong on that now. It might come with the 180 now. I'm not quite sure. You would have to ask your dealer. I didn't think to look at that when I was doing my cheat sheet. But it does have a little bit cheaper seat than the Vantage CT. It's a lot different. I've heard complaints that it's not as comfortable, and then I know a couple people that think it is more comfortable than the Vantage CT. So I'm not exactly sure. I've never actually taken a Compass for a ride, But the compass is 12 feet long exactly. It's 34 inches wide. So it is the same width as an Outback. It's got a 400-pound capacity. And the fitted weight is 68. The rigged weight is 87. So it's a little bit lighter than an Outback, but not much. You just don't get the creature comforts. You don't get the rails. You don't get all the gear track. You get some plastic gear track, but I've seen a video of someone catching a rather large fish and the rod holder ripping that right out. So upgrade that if you do get a compass and you are fishing for big fish. Let me back up a little bit. Actually, no, I'm going to continue and I'm going to go back and talk about price afterwards. Now, the last one I'm going to throw in the mix is the Passport. The 2000 Passport, they make a 10. They make a 10-foot and a 12-foot. I'm going to discuss the 12-foot because if you're going into the ocean at all, don't even bother with the 10. I know a guy in Rhode Island who has a 10, and he fishes just fine in Narragansett Bay, but it's better. I'm sure if he was at the time, if the 12 was out when he was shopping, he would have bought the 12 because it's a I don't want to say a better boat, but it's more suited for bigger water. But the Passport 12 is 34 inches wide, so it is the same as the Passport and the Outback. It's got a 400-pound capacity, so it's the same as the compass. 73 fitted weight and 83 rigged. So it's a little bit heavier than the compass, which is interesting. Now, price. The PA-12 is $3,800. It's a big investment. Actually, any of these are. The Outback is, now this is not the camo edition, and this is just a basic kayak. You know, the camo editions are more money, but the basic MSRP for the PA-12 is $3,800. The MSRP for the Outback is $3,000, and the MSRP for the Revo 13 is $28,000. Those three kayaks come with the 180 drive with the kick-up fins. The compass is $2,100. I don't know if that comes with the kick-up fin or the 180 with the kick-up fins. The old ones used to come with just the GT drive. They may have changed that. I don't remember. The Passport does not come with the kick-up fins. That is $1,600. I'm not even sure it's GT drive. It might just be the old Mirage drive. It's an entry level, but it is a capable boat. I mean, Hobie has their promotional videos, and some of their top guys are taking it out in the ocean, and they're catching large fish on them. So I mean, if it floats, you can fish off of it. All right. As far as storage with these kayaks, the PA has both regular PAs and the 360s. They have the rectangle hatch already installed. They have that tackle system, but you can buy the drop-in bucket, but it's already installed. They also have the rear round hatch that you can put batteries in and whatever. They also have the very large. The 14 is larger. The 12 is a little bit smaller, but it's still a good size. But both PAs, both sizes come with a hatch liner right from the start. And then they have more room underneath. They also have the sail mast that you can mount your batteries to. So storage capacity, the PA, no matter what size, is better. Outback, the 19 and 20 Outback comes with the rectangle hatch in the front, has a place to put around in the rear, but does not come with it. But you can easily install that. Most dealers who have been, around probably have an abundance of those round hatches, because everybody with the older Outbacks, they came with the round, and a lot of guys put the rectangle up front. So a lot of these dealers have a surplus of these round hatches that they will sell you. So that is very easy and kind of simple to do, and it's already marked. You just got to figure out where to cut and cut. But the Revs, you are only able to put, or actually not even, it comes with the round hatch. You are not able to put a square hatch or rectangle hatch. There is just not enough real estate to put a rectangle hatch on this boat. So you are just stuck with that hatch. Not the most convenient. The maker of the large drop-in bucket, the deep bucket, whoever is making them now, have skimped on quality. And if you put too much in it, it just falls through. Not a big fan of that, but what are you going to do? The front hatch on a Rev, especially the 13, is pretty decent. I mean, you can see I got my Alma kit in there. I just leave it in there. I strap them right here, and they're just in there, and I still have room for my lunch, my little cooler, and my batteries, and my dry bag. So the front of the Rev has actually a good amount of room. The 16 has even more room because it is, in fact, longer. But the backs, obviously the PA has a ton more deck space, rear deck, than the Rev. But the Outback has more than the Rev, less than the PA. But, an H crate does fit in here. And I even put my wheels in the back. I don't put my wheels in the scuppers when I'm out in the water. I put them in the back. And there's still room, and it all fits. So there is plenty of room for, whatever you need to store in a Rev. Obviously, in the PAs, you got an abundance of room. And even the 19 and 20 Outbacks, the design of that tank well is phenomenal. You can, they have that little inserts so you can actually put a very wide cooler widthwise. You don't have to do it long, lengthwise. You can do it width, and you still have room for an H crate, I think. So, they actually did a phenomenal job on the Outback rear deck design. I really got to give Hobie props for that. But the compass is probably, and even the Passport, other than the PA, you can see it is just a flat deck. The Rev, you got little dips and this and that, and the older Outbacks weren't so level either. The newer Outback, the 19 and 20 Outbacks are pretty decent too, but the compass and the Passport, they're pretty flat. They don't really have these molded in feet, footrests here. So, you got a nice flat deck, and it's all flat, which is kind of nice. You can stand on it. The Outback and the Compass and the Passport, you can stand it. I have not stood in my Revo, but I do know with the Alma kit on, you can stand in it. I have not. I am not the most coordinated person in the world, so, that's probably why. I do stand in my PA, though. I have no issue standing in that, for the most part. So that's also something you need to consider. The type of fishing you're doing. If all you do all day is bottom fish, then yeah, you're probably going to want some comfort. And a PA is probably the way to go. If you do a lot of nighttime fishing, and I've only been night fishing maybe 2 years now, and I'm doing it more and more as I'm getting more and more comfortable. I hope to do a lot of it this year. But it is freaky. It's a whole different ball game. So to be out in the water at 3 in the morning, a PA is probably a better boat for you. With the space and the comfort, if you do fall asleep, you're not going to fall over. Can you imagine falling asleep in this thing? Just look at these guys. Look how skinny that is compared to this thing. I could probably put 2 of my Revos in this boat. Imagine falling asleep at 3 in the morning, out in the water, in the ocean, on this Revo. You would probably fall in. But, the PA, yeah. So, now I'm just talking stupid. But anyway, some more differences. The older Outbacks, all the Revs, the compasses, and the Passport, they all have one steering handle on the left side, whereas the PAs and the Outbacks, the 2019 and 2000 Outback, have dual. The dual, that is a godsend. I wish Hobie would figure out how to put dual on all their kayaks, because that would be phenomenal. So bottom line, it really depends on a lot of factors. 1, your budget, how much you want to spend. 2, the type of fishing you're doing. Like I said, if you're a run and gun, you want to get out in that water quickly, and you're chasing birds and you're moving from spot to spot, with speed, look into a Revo. As long as you don't mind a little bit of tippiness, that little tippiness feeling. As long as you don't mind that, a Revo will suit you well. If you do have I'm a little nervous of tipping over, then probably the Outback. And if you really don't want to tip at all, go for the PA. Now, something I also want to touch base on, which I kind of just thought about. It also depends on what you're driving. If you have a smart car, PA is probably not your choice, although I have seen it. If you car top, seriously, if you car top, the PA, probably not what you want to do. I do know someone who does car top a PA 14. But, it is possible. I see it all the time. But that is something you want to consider. If you are car topping, lighter the better. If you have a pickup truck, doesn't matter. If you have a trailer like I do, even better. So that is, just a small thing you need to consider. I believe that covers everything. Yeah. So I hope this helps you, Milton, and anybody else that is trying to figure out which Hobie kayak to buy. I hope it helps you. If you have any more questions, please email me. Description has my email. I'll try to answer anything, and if I don't know the answer, I'll get in touch with somebody who does. So, like and subscribe, and yeah. Until next time, I'll see you out there. So yeah, so standing in the